Hey, thanks for tuning in for another episode of Off the Fence. This is a bit unique. This is a part 2. So if you missed part 1, you need to just go watch it or listen to it. But so here's what we're going to do. We're going to jump right back in to a conversation with Tracy. She is a licensed therapist, and the conversation has been so rich, so good, that we wanted to just continue rather than just abruptly say, hey, we met our time limit. So jump in right with us right now as we continue to talk about marriage, all things about stuff we wrestle with, and hopefully you and I will both get off the fence on some of these things, especially a vital relationship. When we say that person, we love you forever and ever and ever. So tune in. Hopefully this helps. It resonates with conversations I've had where someone will often lead with, I don't feel the way I used to. Mm-hmm. And they don't, I think they legitimately don't know how to get that.
Right.
They're like, and I think they're also telling the truth.
Yes.
They're like, I don't feel the way I used to. I don't know how to get back, so I can't get back. Mm-hmm. I think that's the conclusion is I can't. So you're saying, if I'm hearing you correctly, you can get back.
100%.
Yes.
Okay. I love the disruption though, and the knocking maybe the train off of going the wrong way on the tracks. Mm-hmm. Because one of the things that we encounter a lot is as your marriage evolves, you either end up seeing that person as an extension of yourself. So you make decisions assuming that that's what they would want too, and you end up creating some wounds. Or you're looking at yourselves as two separate, completely disconnected people. And I again, though, a lot of that is just disrupting the pattern and practicing healthy things that really just came easily probably in the beginning, but that you just somehow wander off from that way. I love it, though, because I think the more I've been intentional in our marriage, the more we've worked on ourselves and really been intentional about making ourselves healthy, time with the Lord, even like physical activity separately or together. We go on walks together. Mm-hmm. But all of that makes us better, which makes us better. And I think that that's been so good. But so many of the marriages that we've encountered, they really do. Either they just assume they become like conjoined twins. Mm-hmm. So they operate and function without honoring the individual, or they're just completely separate. I love that strategy of saying, we're just going to take small bites.
Yes. And
on this big thing.
And you said something really important too. Often one of the first things that falls away in our whole lives when we get into the busyness of kids and our relationships are the intentional carving out and defending time together and doing really positive things. So along with all these communication and coaching, it's research tells us that even more important than weekly date night, that if you were to get away with your spouse 4 times a year for at least 2 days outside of your home without your kids. So I try this. So every time I
everyone needs to stop and write that down. Pull over, do whatever.
Right.
4 times.
4 times a year.
4 times a year.
For at least 2 days.
48 hours.
So quarterly.
Without your kids and outside your home. Mm. Now, and I'll preface this. So whenever I research stuff, which I do frequently, I always try this out. It's like me and my husband, the guinea pigs. And so we committed to this. And it's amazing the barriers that you have to go through, right? You got to find somebody to watch your children. You have to carve out, you have to have money. I mean, we didn't have a lot of money. When we started, we would go to Mitchell, South Dakota one time. Yeah, that was nice. It was amazing. I love it.
Hey, there's a corn palace there.
I've never been there.
Right. Oh, you haven't?
No.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's what we did too. We went.
Notice she said, oh my gosh, and did not then follow up with, you have to go see it. Sorry.
I've never
just pointing out something.
Have you ever been?
Yeah, I've gone.
How have I not been?
I think you actually have. We've looped.
I've not went into the corn palace.
Not been into it. Yeah.
No, I can't imagine inside is there something inside that we need to see?
Corn, much corn.
There's stuff. Sure.
Sorry, I'm totally distracting. Sorry. Okay. Okay.
Mitchell, South Dakota.
Yes.
48 hours.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So, and I think, but what we need to say is, why does that work? Mm-hmm. And really for us, what we found, my husband and I, we've been married 16 years, together about 20. What I found too is, everything just changes when the physical environment changed. Mm-hmm. I wasn't doing a million load of laundry and then, multitasking because we were just there together. Mm-hmm. There was a relaxation that happened. We could go eat. We didn't have to do anything. We talked. We played Scrabble. It just became this physical cue that okay, this is like time to reconnect together. And then, of course, other things, you need to have positive interactions and really understanding how your negative interactions take away. So I think it's Gottman that theorizes that in that emotional bank account, it takes 6 positive interactions to make up for 1 negative in a relationship. So if you think about it as a bank account, to just be really conscious of what am I doing together? And it doesn't have to be weekly date night that's elaborate. It's what kind of what things anchor us together during our day. My husband kisses me goodbye every morning, and every night we get the kids. Now they're kind of older, so they have to go to their rooms and read or do what they do because we have our show and we connect and we have prayer time before that with our kids. And those are anchors daily that will keep you intimately connected. And just to be that conscious of how are you in my day? Yes. How are you in my week? What are we doing throughout the year? And again, it does not have to be elaborate. It just needs to be connecting and fun, joy. We need to laugh together. We need to be silly together. We need to have friends over. We need to just think of ourselves as a living, breathing thing that needs fun and connectedness. We don't need to be talking about all the things we disagree about all the time.
Yeah. They're just wins. We've talked about that a lot. Even for our kids, that we want them to have wins so that they can go back on those when things get hard. But that's what it is. We were just away actually not long ago.
Facebook.
Yeah, it was a work conference, but it was amazing. And since Bo was born, we've had a hard time really carving out time. Bless it. He's a sweet child, but we don't have family in town. And so it's been hard, but it's been important. And I was reminded of that on our recent trip, that this is just really fun. We didn't even do anything really like extravagant. We got ice cream and just walked around one of the little villages one day. And that was the best day ever. It was amazing.
It's awesome.
Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, to cultivate a generosity of spirit too is one thing I talk to couples about. Like, my husband loves to hunt Fairburn agates, okay? Yeah. Like, if you were going to ask me if I really thoroughly enjoyed that activity, and I could be completely honest, I would say it's not super fun for me to traipse around in barbed wire and maybe there's some snakes and it might be hot and I'm uncomfortable. But I just say there's a generosity of spirit that I want to go, and I look at this totally when I'm with him as just time spent. Every time I look lovingly at all these agates he's gotten and tell him, wow, babe, that's amazing. He just slayed a dragon, and I do feel those things, and same with him. I ask for that generosity of spirit. When I want him to go do something with me, like walk around a mall, which is his worst nightmare, or talk to people because he's very introverted. Okay. So, but he, and sometimes I have to say, babe, I'm asking for your generosity of spirit.
Yes.
And then he'll say, okay, got you, 10-4. And what does it say in the Bible, right? I say this to my clients a lot. It doesn't say you need to feel gentle. You need to feel love. You need to feel all the feelings are amazing, but they are the wind, right? Yeah. They shift with the wind. You need to put on the cloak of gentleness.
Yes.
Pretend that you are gentle. God doesn't expect us to lie because people are annoying and things are hard.
Yep.
Yes.
Put it on. Put on that cloak and give that in a generous way.
Yeah. I love that. I am going to steal that.
Do. Please do.
Generosity of spirit. Yeah. Well, because again, I'm going to keep going back to this. We know that others need it, but we often don't treat our spouses as though they need it.
Right.
That's good. I mean, I've joked about this. Like, we'll go to our kids' games. I mean, I love my children. They are not gifted athletically, or they're so young. I mean, come on. You go to a T-ball game.
Yeah, that's the best.
The truth of what's really going on is there's not a parent going, this is so special and I love this. Wow, look at the skill sets that we're seeing. No, we're looking, I think the left fielder just peed his pants and the second baseman is playing in the dirt, right? And it's
good parental connecting time,
but you're there and we're all there because it's personal, and we've said, you know what? That person needs and wants this from me.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to give it to them because of a love, because of a commitment, because it's that person matters. And so
that's that agape though too, that we talk about a lot. The love, marriage love is intended to be different. It is intended to be different for a reason, because it will require that of us.
Yes.
Because we are inviting someone to be one with, and we don't even like to be us sometimes. So to invite someone into that space to be one, it requires unconditional love.
Yeah, the emotional connection. I had a coach in my life once talk to me about irreducible minimums. And the idea was, what line will you refuse to go below regarding your week and your month and your year? And a lot of them are relationship oriented. And so one of them was, for us as a family, dinners together. So I have a list of how many dinners per week will we not go below, because then a deficit gets created. An emotional disconnect begins to happen. Not like traumatic. I mean, I'll travel, and that doesn't mean that we've all fallen apart after 1 week. But this is more like you talked about.
We
like
do only eat cereal when
generalized,
you're gone.
rhythmic expectation.
Intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I didn't know when Katie and I first started dating, zero money, like you might even say negative money. And really our best option was to walk from my apartment down to a park and literally walk circles around it. We would sometimes splurge and drive over to Sonic, get a drink and sit in the playground and talk, but walk. Then we got married, and we'd come home from work, or even before I had a job yet, and we would go do a walk. It'd be about 3 miles or so. So all the time, I'm just enjoying time with Katie, right? We're doing it because we didn't have money for cable. We didn't have money to go anywhere. We didn't have a lot of obligations yet. We're young. So we're just doing this because we enjoy it. What I did not know is we were creating a mold of communication and expectation between the two of us.
Yeah, we had a rhythm.
So I say that, though, then kids came in the picture. And it was
And jobs.
and like a 3:30 in the afternoon walk
Yeah.
wasn't as doable. So we began to skip it or this or that, and things would begin to arise. And what we experienced a disconnect, an emotional disconnect. We became, this might be too extreme, but in essence, roommates. You do what you need to do. I'll do what I need to do. We didn't hate each other. We just weren't emotionally connected. And then COVID happened. So fast forward, COVID. And people trash COVID, think it's the worst thing ever. And many of us have bad experiences. My dad nearly died when he got COVID. It was tragic. But he's good now. But what we learned in COVID was, so jobs changed, expectations changed in the sense of where I need to be and what we need to do, and same with her. So we started walking. It seemed natural. So we just started going on a walk. And there was a coffee shop halfway through the walk, which was
4 miles. So 2 miles in, we stopped for
beneficial.
coffee.
So sorry, this is a
love
long
this.
Which made it totally worth it.
This is a long
Yes.
story, but you sparked my thought. And so we started walking. And I would say, I even get emotional, like we started thriving. Like thriving. While you mentioned COVID revealed a lot of things in marriages and they didn't thrive. For us, we found like we began to connect in ways, because I remember Sunday mornings we would go for a walk, and I'm like, I've never walked anywhere on a Sunday morning. Literally.
Right. Sure.
I grew up in church.
Yeah.
I went from a pastor's kid to a pastor, but there are a lot of these things going, wow, I got lethargic in our marriage. And it wasn't me like running off and abandoning. It was just like,
Life.
I wasn't trying like I used to try. And what we've, I think, retaught ourselves going, let's make a diligent effort as though we were dating again. That same kind of level of effort. And it has, I'm not trying to like make this seem more dramatic than it was, but we began to like see life in our marriage that we hadn't even realized was a little numb or a little just lesser than it used to be.
Well, and I think some of that too, though, goes back to you get almost trapped in all of these. Well, we got to do this for this kid, and we've got to do that for that kid, and work this and friends that, and we're just trying to hold all of these things. And COVID made it okay to kind of set all of that down.
Yeah, we
Some of
had
it
an
just
excuse.
jumped off
We
out
had
of
a
our
reason,
hands.
yeah.
But we can do that in normal life too. And that's, I think, as we've moved back into more normal life, we've started not saying no to everything, but we've started really measuring the cost and loss, the cost benefit, I think, of so when the weather's nice, non-negotiably, we carve out time for a walk. That's just become an irreducible minimum.
I go
would
into
say.
work later. Like,
Yeah.
and it's like,
So our day is a little longer,
Yeah.
but we started out in a way that's healthy and beneficial. But even family time, and that, like, we've been able to restructure and be far more intentional because we kind of, I think, got caught up in this tornado of schedules and expectations of the world. And even for our family, not just for our relationship, but for our kids, where we say, no, we're going to do this together.
Yep.
We're going to go hiking, and we're going to, spend a day together every week. And that has been a game changer. And for us, in the seasons that we've not been able to travel or even get away for 2 days, that's been a huge, I would say that time, that intentional time away, though, has been a game changer for us.
I haven't counted them. I don't know if we're doing 4 a year, but we definitely would say, if I looked at our marriage annually and say, okay, how was that year? Mm-hmm. The better years by far are when we've intentionally made time to get away.
Yeah.
Totally.
Okay, so let's go this route because I don't know if they made it this far, but there are many people going, so I'm not married. When is this episode over? I don't even know if they've even.
Yeah. They're gone.
Yeah.
They don't want to get married at this point. We've made it sound terrible.
If you're single and ready to mingle.
That was good.
Okay. Let's talk that people preparing for marriage. Not necessarily they're engaged, but like the idea of going, I want to be married someday, or remarried someday. I want that to be my life someday. I'd imagine you've run into some stuff where you could say, well, here's what I would suggest, or have this person guard against, or implement, or think about. What would you say to the person who's single with the idea that marriage will one day be a part of their life?
I think I would say I love this topic because the world will shout at us from the rooftops that, we need to prepare for everything, right? So we need to live together before marriage, or we need to get a dog to prepare for kids, which is like, what? Oh my gosh. Dogs are way easier than kids. Because the world tells us those things and we've normalized a lot of things. But research, and this is again, I think because it's been associated with religion, there's been such pushback from the world, right?
Yep.
But research tells us that statistically, you are more likely to have a better quality of marriage and a longer lasting marriage if you choose not to cohabitate before making that commitment. And of course, let's break that down a little bit. I think this is huge because statistically, the numbers are pretty significant. So if I know something like that, I think we should say that. Let's deconstruct that. Why is that? I mean, of course, from my standpoint, when I see people in my office who are dealing with the ending of breakups and boyfriend, girlfriend situations, it's really because we jump into something without discerning what we really want. We simply jump in because of the feelings that we're getting, and we're back to feelings, right? This is going to go on my gravestone, that feelings aren't facts. But feelings can really sway us in directions that are not great for us, right? I mean, if you think about relationships, what I see a lot is people wanting something so desperately. They're lonely, they feel disconnected, and they get into these things. And think about how American dating is. Like right now, we're swiping right and left. We're looking at somebody. I mean, and why? Like some of my clients will show me their Tinder accounts or whatever these accounts are. I was never part of this world. Thank you, Jesus, that I did not have to do that. But they'll show me these pictures and like, why is all the men like not wearing a shirt and holding a snake? Is
Weird?
Is that supposed to be like?
Okay.
Or their background is like all their messy, dirty clothes. Like
I did not know this word. Yeah.
I didn't either.
Wowzers.
Okay. Yes. Brace yourselves if you look into this. But
I'm just not going to.
But we start with this photo of someone. If it's online dating, we start with a profile, and everything is carefully curated.
Yeah.
What I'm putting on Facebook, I'm cropping out my stomach, and I'm making my art. We are going to put, in a sense, a false self on there, or our best self, or our ideal self.
The one we hope for. Yeah.
Right.
The one
and then we might have dinner, and everything is so fast paced. And I feel like there's unexpected expectations that people aren't naming. Yeah, well, I just didn't feel like a connection. Well, let's talk about that.
Yes.
What do you mean you didn't feel a connection?
Yeah.
Well, were you not attracted to them sexually? Let's break this down. Maybe that's it. Okay, well, then you've just said that's pretty much where you're starting. Boom. Okay, mic drop. But that's fine, but let's play that out. What are the consequences of that?
Yep.
And then it becomes, what are your values? Because the most important thing the protective factors we know about longevity and quality and happiness are things like trust. There are things like I can solve problems together. Values, our values are aligned, meaning we see the world in a similar way that informs the way we will solve deep, dark problems. That is the sauce. So if I'm looking at you and thinking you're sexy and I'm starting there and I'm eliminating you there from that, then what is that about? And then go down that road. I'm working with a client right now who's healing some old wounds that she learned from her childhood and her parents' divorce. And we're examining the patterns of her relationships and how they've ended. And we're looking for those things. And so I would say take the time. And of course, if you're a Christian, as I am, we need to pray really specifically in my mind. God wants to bless us and wants to give us those things. And I actually just came across this. I went to school with nuns growing up, right? And they used to tell us, you should pray right now for your future husband or wife. And so then we started that. I started that practice. And I remember about a year before I met my husband, I wrote in a journal and I wrote down the 10 qualities that I wanted my husband to have. And then I doodled around the page because I was like praying, as I was writing this. And I found it the other day and literally 10 out of 10.
Wow.
And they were not things that I really certainly appreciate him overtly for right now. So I was a little called out on that, oh. And then I doodled in the corner and I drew a picture of a wedding ring. And of course it looks exactly like my wedding ring, which is super, no coincidences here. But again, I'm kind of getting off topic, but honestly praying and really being intentional about what you want in a person and then letting all else kind of follow. We know chemistry. I mean, I met my husband, we're 7 years different from each other. I hired him to tutor me in math.
That's brilliant.
He was so smart. And he was literally looked like a 12-year-old, when I came in. There was no attraction when I first saw him. Over time, 6 months we spent together working on math together, getting to know each other, talking. And it wasn't in my mind until it was forming.
Yes.
And I often coach people to slow down, to examine old patterns and outcomes, that there is generally nothing to be lost from taking things slowly, from really discerning a person. And there's much harm that can be done to you and to others if we don't have this sort of reverence for that person and reverence for yourself as you're going through this.
I love the word because I agree with you. Like taking reverence into dating, taking it into going, this isn't just like because when I hear that, I'm thinking reverence. That means I'm not just going into this date to consume, which I think is maybe it is a natural human desire.
Yes.
When I say consume, are you what I want you to be?
Yes.
Do you look what I want you to look like?
Right.
Do you answer how I want you to answer? All those kind of I'm consuming. But to walk in with a different reverence of this is another human being who is special and uniquely made by God. That's a reverence. I love that word. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
So much of it goes back though to the work that we've got to do on ourselves. I think a lot of times, and I was one of those, I had a really rough, terrible relationship all through high school. I was really trying to fix somebody and ended up getting hurt a lot in the process. But I just wanted somebody that was nice. That's literally, I was such a goon because I didn't really process, but the Lord was so good and kind to bring me David, who was willing to process it with me. But a lot of what I'm hearing too is we've got to, instead of just running to something that's going to make us feel good or feel better about ourselves, we've got to be willing to dig in and do the work.
Absolutely.
With ourselves and for ourselves even. And a lot of times we don't want to do that. So we just...
Or we don't have a mechanism for it. I mean, we're teaching all these things in high school and we're not talking to kids in ways that make sense about communicating.
Yes.
knowing your own desires, knowing that these things are going to come up and we don't have to act on them, that we have mechanisms. I mean, I just feel so badly for today's kids because we cannot protect them in the same ways we could when I was a kid because there's just so much access and talking about it with your kids when they're starting to date in a way that gives them a mechanism.
Yes.
Like, I mean, I just laughed at your comment because as a social worker, I always joked that I dated like my first clients. I was like an amateur social worker. I was literally trying to fix them too.
I was
like,
everyone's mother. You look cute. Let's go on a date.
Oh, we can do this. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jesus, that I processed through that. And
isn't he so kind to
he's
give us the
so
husbands he
good.
gave us?
Oh my
Because
gosh.
I didn't know what I was looking for. David was just cute and nice. And I went, okay, yeah.
And the Lord protected that. Yeah. Absolutely.
I didn't know how to start a relationship. Like I didn't know how do you appropriately walk into I want to get to know you. I didn't even know how to do it. And so basically it meant when do we kiss? I guess at that point we're together and we'll figure everything out as we go. And I didn't know how to do that. So I would often, when Katie and I were dating, I would withhold emotionally, but not physically, because I interpreted physical as the advancement of the relationship, the solidifying, this is who we are. And I run into couples regularly who started off that way, where they knew where they were at based on the physical intimacy that was going on, but the emotional and the how do we do this well? Who are you?
What do you want?
What do you want in life?
Yeah.
What are your dreams and hopes and all that kind of stuff become secondary and accidental.
That's been one of my favorite parts about marriage has actually been that this agreement that we want to honor the Lord and we want to do what He's called us to do, and we want to make each other better in the process. And that has been my favorite part about marriage, because I just can't even imagine not being able to do that or have help
right
for the work that I need to do on myself too. It's been fun. It really has been.
It is. So some parting words, all right?
All right.
Let's land this plane.
Let's land it.
So
we've been
there's people. We're flying in the air right now. Things I would imagine. I bet you meet with couples enough going, I really want to say ...
Oh, yes.
I'd like to give you full permission right now to say ...
Okay. This is something I say often too. So when I have that person come in and I say, well, tell me about your relationship. What do you think needs to change? And they say, I'll tell you what needs to change. You need to change my spouse, A, B, and C.
Right.
And I say, oh, I see. That must be really painful. And in my head, every time people just know this, I'm thinking, oh, honey, actually, I'm going to change your attitude and how you treat that man. And he's going to respond and you're going to fall in love with him again.
Boom.
I'm thinking that as I'm just saying, oh, that's really hard for you. Let's explore this.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love how we are. Because we're all that way. That's beautiful. Well, thank you for your vulnerability and your wisdom. Mm-hmm. If anyone, because in the world of stalking people on the internet, or maybe someone wants to set up a session with you, what's the best way if they're like, you know what, I would like to connect with her? What's the best way to do that?
Just send me an email. Go to my website, www.palacek.therapy.com. That's PALECEK therapy.com. And I would love to set up a time. We're all real busy with everything, but we'll get you on a list. And
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks. We really are grateful
grateful.
for you spending time with us.
Thank you guys for your good work.
This has been like a classroom. I've learned so much from you through the years. You're like my favorite person. So when we were talking about all of this, I was like, Tracy.
Oh, you're so kind. Awesome. I've learned so much from you too, friend. You guys are all sweet.
Well, thanks for listening or watching or whatever you chose to do, however you chose to do this. Maybe you're running right now. Good for you.
Bless your heart.
I prefer to be eating a donut. But, thanks for listening and watching. Till next time. We love you.
Bye, friends.